For this project, you're going to be using Adobe Fresco. You can create new. Current screen size works just perfectly. And then the first thing that you're going to do is to choose a vector brush. Now, if you tap on it, you can choose the type, whether you want like a chisel or a taper. I'm just using a basic round. And then also just making sure that I'm using black. So you can create a doodle at this point. It could be totally abstract or it could be, representational. I think what I'm going to do is to draw some cactus. I really love the desert and I love visiting the desert, and I'm just going to go quickly through this. One of the ways that you can enhance any drawing is simply by adding pattern. So if I just keep doing this over and over, drawing lines in there, it's going to make it more interesting, I think. One thing that you want to be careful of is to make sure that you close those gaps in your lines because you are going to be using the paint bucket. And so if there are any gaps at all, it's going to have an effect and probably flood areas that you don't want once you start to fill. So I've got this leaning saguaro cactus, and I'll just kind of make some lines here. Repeating that pattern over and over. And again, this is a vector brush. You want to start out with vector. I'm going to think about, I might want to have some sort of flower on it. And then maybe make, put some sort of bird. It's kind of an ugly bird right now, but let's give him a beak. Yeah, almost looks like a duck, but whatever. It's okay. I'm going to give him some thickness in his legs here too. All right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just creating one layer and one object per layer. So what I am going to do for this layer is now start adding shades of gray. Choose shades of gray, don't add color at this point. So the way that I do this is I bring that slider up just a little bit on the left. So you can see if I go up and down, it just changes the gray scale as I go. And it doesn't matter what color it's on. If I move into color, it's going to change it. But if I'm holding it way over to the left, it doesn't really matter too much. So I'm going to go with a gray here. Then I'm going to choose my paint bucket. And I'll just fill in what I think might make this. Oops, looks like I missed a spot. Probably right up there. So I'll use my brush. Choose that black swatch again. And anytime that you add a new color, it's going to create what's called a swatch, which is this little square at the bottom of the color picker. So you can always go back to the colors that you've chosen to use. So now I'm going to go back to that gray and the bucket, the paint bucket, and I'll just continue filling this, creating that pattern. I think I might make the next section a lot lighter, so I'll go something like this and click in there every other one, or tap I should say. There's really no clicking anymore when you're on the iPad. So there's that, and then I might make that bird just a little bit lighter. And then I'm trying to think. I think what we'll do with the flowers is we'll make those just a darker gray. Okay, and then I think the bird beak, I'm gonna make that darker as well as the legs. Okay, so it's a gray sketch. That's just one object. I might want more. I might want to put snakes in it and mountains and that sort of thing. And I'll continue adding to this as I go. But from this point, I need to add a new layer. So I make sure that layer is selected, which it should be. I haven't done anything else. And you click on this plus icon in the right-hand side, and it's going to put a new layer on top. Now the first thing that I want to do is I want to clip this layer to the layer that I just drew. Okay, and what this does, even though when I click it, nothing happens out in the space, you can see that little arrow pointing down, which means that that layer is clipped to the layer below it. So anything that I put into this layer is going to be constrained by the boundary of that lower layer. Anything with pixels in it, anything with art in it is going to be affected. So what I'm going to do then is in that layer, I want to choose a, let's try watercolor. So with watercolor, you can do different detail or soft or splatters. These are your live brushes. You could use oil as well. I'm just going to do a flat wash just because I want a broad swath of color. And I'm going to choose some flavor of green in there. Then I'm going to go to my art and I'm going to start painting. Now if I click, right now I'm painting outside, but you don't see that because it stays within that clipping mask. So that's what that arrow does on the left hand side. And so you can see that I am now affecting that. But what's also happening is as it becomes more opaque, you're not able to see quite as clearly the art that I just created. So instead of leaving it like this, I'm going to choose a property. So I have that layer selected and I choose the settings. I'm going to choose blend mode. What blend mode does is it blends that layer that you have selected with, in this case, only the layer below it because it's clipped to it. So what I'm going to do is choose darken and see how that happens. Multiply. That does something kind of cool. Each one of these is going to have a different effect on that artwork. Okay, and there's no no right or wrong with this. It's just sort of what you think looks good. I kind of like the color burn. We'll see how that goes when I add red to the flowers. So I'm going to choose red over here and make it red. I'm going to use that same brush for this. I don't know that I really love how that looks, so maybe I might try lighten, see how that works. Screen, color dodge. Each one of those again is going to be a different effect. I really feel like I can't go wrong with overlay, so with that, it's totally fine. And then I'm going to choose another color for the bird. Let's make it a little yellow bird. Pretty little yellow bird. And then I might add just a little bit of that red. And then for this brush, I might slow down the water flow a little bit. Zoom in and just add. And I actually might make this a little bit smaller too because it's pretty big. There we go. Or I could even change brushes at this point. So if I want to have like charcoal effect, maybe a charcoal pencil, and put some details in it, I could certainly do that. But again, because it's clipped to the layer below it, it's not going to be like I'm coloring outside of the lines. So that's just a really slick way of adding some some enhancements to your work. And really, it's going to be up to you, kind of what you make of it. But have fun with it. From this point, I can then create a new object. So, for instance, if I want to have like a different kind of cactus, I'll click on a new layer. I'll go back to my vector brush and I'll choose black, and then I'll make little prickly pear cactuses, little teddy bear cactuses, I guess. No, those are the chala. So these are there's lots of different cactus out in the desert. Could add little spikes. And I'm going through this really quickly, so it's probably not Not the most amazing artwork that you've ever seen, but you'll get the idea, right? And then again, from there, I'll fill it with different grays. So using the paint bucket tool, might do that. Might go darker on a couple of them. Might go lighter. Oops, looks like I missed a spot in there. Yep. Honestly, I can just draw that way and probably wouldn't even notice. Click that and that. I think I want that to be just a little bit darker as well. So then for this cactus, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to add a new layer to it. I'm going to create a clipping mask. I might choose a different shade of green for this one. Let's go with maybe a little bit more yellow green. And then I kind of like that charcoal effect, but let me see what other kind of brushes there are. Dry media, soft chalk. Let's try that one. And I'm going to just start out blending it, darkening it just a little bit from that menu. So I'll darken it, and then you can see that effect on there. And I might mix up the colors a little bit just to create more variation. But you can see that each one of those affects it differently. Each brush that you choose is a little bit different. Each one of the blending modes creates a different effect on it. Right, so it's just a matter of playing around with it and seeing what you can create and come up with. So have fun.